Does the sci-fi anime Deca-Dence have what it takes to stand out among post-apocalyptic anime? Stay tuned to find out.
Welcome all you misfits and metalheads to another episode of The Cutting Room Floor. We are from the band Cut Like This. I am Thorn Black.
I'm Rose Blood.
And we have music right here on YouTube, on Spotify, and a whole bunch of streaming service. Look us up. Help a band out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Today is Sinister Sunday, so we're coming at you with another anime. Rose, what do we have for them today?
We've got this anime Deca-Dence, which is available on Crunchyroll as well as Hulu right now. This is from 2021, so the whole season is there, ready for you to binge. This is one that I feel like kind of fell off the radar for some people because there's a drastic change from the first episode to the second episode. And that little twist was it's a little wild, so it takes you a second to kind of get used to it. I urge you all to, if you've already checked it out and you checked out the first episode and you're like, whoa, this second episode is crazy. It all gets explained. It all makes sense. So just hang in there because it's really cool and it's going to take you for a really fun sci-fi ride into the future. Now this future is a particularly apocalyptic one.
Oh, this picture is kind of bleak.
It really is. It really is.
I think it's about 90% of humanity just is gone.
Gone.
It's just gone.
It's over.
It's like, oh boy.
It's over for humans.
The apocalypse once again has come upon us.
Uh-huh.
Are we talking about the anime or real life?
Exactly. So this time, these guys have holed up into a big, moving, armored fortress. And this fortress is called Deca-Dence, hence the title. Oh, surprise, surprise. So this mobile fortress runs off of this stuff that is basically the blood of these giant monsters that roam the earth called Gadolls, right? These things are big, mutated, bug-like, and vicious.
Yeah, there's all kinds of sizes ranging from like human size to Godzilla size, and you don't know what you're going to get or when they're going to pop up, of course.
Of course. And what's little is left of humanity is split up between tankers, who are the people that are basically like, they're living inside of the mobile fortress, and they're the ones that are like the little worker bees that keep everything going. They do all the maintenance and riveting and all the, mechanical stuff that you would expect, and they harvest like the blood and meat of the Gadolls and things like that. And there's the people called Gears, who are kind of a little bit higher up, and they're basically like the warrior class, and they're the ones that go out and fight the Gadolls via the means of these kind of robotic backpacks that kind of like help them basically fly through the air, and then they have these harpoons which come in different shapes and sizes and just depending on that particular warrior's fighting style. But these harpoons basically are giant hypodermic needles, actually. So they just throw these harpoon things, and then they stab them, and they don't really throw them, they kind of like shoot out like a gun, and they stab into the Gadolls and stuff, and then they suck it out.
Bleed them dry. They basically bleed the Gadolls to death.
Yes.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
So when you're fighting a Gadoll, they release a kind of zone or territory, and gravity just isn't the same in there, and that's why the guys are flying like all over the place. So you have to get used to that, obviously. And the goal is, like I said, to kill a Gadoll, but the way to kill them is basically to pierce them and bleed them dry. And then the blood comes flying out the other end. The thing on their backpack
vacuums it up.
Yeah, it kind of vacuums it in. And that also lets you keep flying, because if you run out, then you can't really control what you're doing anymore. And that's like the life of everything in this world. Pretty much. Yeah.
So, they use this mobile fortress to kind of, either, run away from bigger Gadolls, or to engage with the super, like Omega giant Gadolls.
Because sometimes you just can't get away from it.
Yeah, sometimes you can't get away. It's not a super fast moving vehicle because it's so big.
It's like It kind of made me think of old school Ninja Turtles when they had the Technodrome, how big that
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it doesn't look like it, but it
Except just
just,
imagine if it was like Technodrome mixed with Rock'em Sock'em robots, because
yeah.
it can actually transform, and it has like this huge fist, and it just like kapow, like punches the crap out of the giant Godolls. And it also has, its own cool like tentacular harpoon things that'll like start sucking into them, and those things are basically a giant, much stronger version of the ones that the gears wear on their backs and stuff like that, and that is part of their, weaponry.
Hmm.
Pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah, it is. It is
interesting.
pretty cool. It's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. The story goes a place that I wasn't quite expecting it to. It definitely throws a banana peel in just the typical what you think it's going to be at first, and upon that first happening,
Mm-hmm.
I found it interesting, but also I wasn't sure if I liked that. It took me a second. I was like, I kind of like the world that I thought you were giving me,
Yeah.
and it's never bad to flip the script a little bit and give you something that you weren't expecting. I just liked the original idea so much that when they flipped the script at first originally, I don't know how much on board I was. Stuck with it, and it's worth it. It's worth the payoff. It's just different. It's just not the straightforward thing that you thought it was gonna be. There's a lot more to it, a couple of different layers to it, which actually is really cool because it's not just the same old typical story that you think you're gonna get. So, most anime, they just lay one thing out and then it's like that's what you get. But I like that because then
Yeah.
it makes you think a little bit, and you're
It
not
really
quite sure what's
it
going
really
to happen
does.
because it's not like just a typical thing like you thought it was originally. And yeah, the main characters grew on me. The fighting is pretty cool. I love how
Oh yeah, when
they're
they're
flying
in
and
the zone and
dashing
they're
and
like flying
mm-hmm.
around, it's really cool. The
Yeah,
fighting is
yeah.
dope.
Mm-hmm.
And you really feel the how dangerous it is, because
Yeah, a
a
lot of people don't
lot
make
of
it.
people
Yeah,
do
a lot
not,
of people don't make it.
being a gear, you get a higher pay than you do when you're a tanker, because it's super
Yeah,
dangerous,
because every time you go into a fight, you might not come back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about these main characters real quick. The story kind of centers around this girl, Natsume, and she is a very she's really adorable. She's like really like she's just very determined, and she really wants to like succeed, and she's willing to put in the work no matter what. So she's kind of overseen by this dude Kaburagi, who is, she wants to be a gear like her dad, and who has like, I'm not going to tell you, actually. You're just going to have to watch and find out.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, she wants to be a gear like her dad, but she gets assigned because everybody's assigned, like, they kind of like mathematically put them in the computer, and they're like, this is what you're
Yeah,
best
this
suited
is your
for.
profession now.
According
It
to
doesn't
whatever.
really matter if you want it or not. It's
Yeah,
what they give you, and
exactly.
it's what you got to do.
Exactly. So she gets assigned to be a maintenance worker, and she's upset. She's understandably upset. She's just like, why? Why do I have to do this? Like, this is not what I want to do. Part of the reason is because she's injured. She's lost a hand. So, they're like, well, you can't be a gear because you got no hand. So there's that. And she just won't accept it. She won't accept that they've
Mm-hmm.
decided that she can only fit into this role. She grudgingly does her job, but she continuously bothers Kaburagi to let her do other stuff. And eventually, he does teach her how to fight. It's really cool. You get to see their relationship, and you get to see both of them grow as people
Mm-hmm.
from knowing each other. He is struck by her wholesomeness and her drive to fight.
Her determination to go on.
He keeps
really
telling her,
ends up changing him a lot.
he keeps telling her to just, do what you're supposed to do. Like, this is what you got assigned, and this is how this society is, and this is what you got to do. And she's like, why? I don't know. I don't accept that. Like, I refuse. Like, and she just, she wins him over, and she'll win you over too. I guarantee it. So, I think this is totally worth checking out. At first, it did throw me for a loop.
For a second too.
I was
but
like,
I
wait
came
a
back
second.
around.
I was like, wait a second, what's going on? And I feel like that happened to a lot of people when you hit episode 2. So my
It wasn't just two. It was.
There's a
There
couple.
was a little grudge. I was like, I think I kind of wanted the first thing. But it is worth the payoff though. It's worth it. Just stick with it for a second.
Don't worry about it.
Maybe you won't even feel like me, and you'll like the surprise right away, and be like, oh, okay, cool. But I stuck with it. I think it was worth it. I'm glad I did stick with it.
Absolutely. So that being said, how would you rate this Thorn Black?
All right. I think I'm going to give this one a 3.5. This is a pretty good one. It did throw me for a loop a little bit. I am glad that I stuck with it. They have some really cool action scenes going on, some cool fighting. The animation is nice. It's pretty fluid, especially when they're flying and dodging and getting in. It gets to be pretty exciting. So I dig it. I think.
What made you give it a 3.5 instead of a 4?
Well, like I was saying, it wasn't something that I just week to week I wanted to see it, but then I fell off a little bit. And then, there were other animes that just compelled me to watch them a little bit more week to week during the season. Okay. Not that this isn't a good one, but because of that, like certain ones that I'm just like, oh, babe, this one is out today. We have to watch. You know what I mean?
What you're saying.
So I kind of fell off a little bit, and then I got back into it. Because of that, I'm gonna have to give it a 3.5. It's not a bad score.
All right.
I still think it was a good story. It's good characters. It's good overall world, and they flip some stuff around. It's entertaining, definitely.
All right, I'm gonna give this one a 4 actually. And this is why. I am super into classic sci-fi and like world building stuff. I love Isaac Asimov and people like that, like those classic like civilization building and what happens and what are the rules and you know what I mean, of like, alien creatures between aliens and humans and different things like that, or between humans and AIs and stuff like that. And I really dig that kind of stuff. And if you're a person that's into that kind of like a little bit, if you want a little bit deeper, a little bit more sci-fi of an edge to your story, then this one is actually one for you. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just that we are into a little bit different of things, even though we like a lot of the same things. I was ready to jump into that world, and I was really interested in the twist that gets introduced about what this world is and who these people are and what their situation is. I was all about it. So I'm really into that kind of stuff. And I think that, if you're one that wants something a little bit deeper from your anime and a little bit more of a sci-fi edge and stuff, but also has a lot of cool monster fighting scenes as well, but a little bit more towards the brainy side sometimes, if you can handle that transition between those two, you're going to love this thing. So check it out. It's totally different. It's really, it really stands out actually a lot from when you really think about it. From
I think it definitely holds its own place for what it's doing. It's definitely unique compared to a lot of the other stories going on out there. It's definitely its own story. It's not borrowing too heavily from any kind of anything, which is very nice and fresh. And I like it.
Exactly. And that's all we got for you today.
That's all for today. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Listen to our music.
Super fan out.
Super fans out. That is all for us today. We are here every Wednesday and Sunday with a brand new episode. Until next time, we are